Martha Ellis stood at the viewing window of Space Station Gamma 7, her calloused hands pressed against the reinforced glass. The endless sea of stars stretched before her, but her eyes were fixed on the incoming transport ship. Inside that ship were 10 children who would change her life forever. The station's maintenance chief, Roger, walked up behind her. "You're really going through with this madness?" he asked, shaking his head. 10 of them. And those weird black kids from the Proxima incident. Martha didn't turn around. After 15 years as the station's top maintenance engineer, she had learned to ignore the small minds around her. "They're children who need a home," she said simply. "Their colony was destroyed. They have no one. But their skin," Roger lowered his voice. "It's not just dark. It's like black crystal or something. People talk. Let them talk." Martha watched as the transport ship began its docking sequence. Her small apartment on Level C had already been expanded into the empty storage units on either side. It had cost her entire savings, but it would be enough space for 11. Word had spread quickly through the station's population of 5,000. The quiet engineer who kept their life support running, whose husband had died fixing an external hull breach 3 years ago, was about to become the mother of 10 alien hybrid children. The betting pools were already running on how long she would last. The docking bay's warning lights flashed as the transport ship locked into place. Martha straightened her gray maintenance uniform and walked toward the arrival area. As she passed through the corridors, she could hear the whispers. "There goes the crazy engineer. 10 of them. She'll be broke in a month. Those crystal skin kids. They're not even fully human. Poor woman must have lost her mind after Tom died." The transport ship's doors opened with a soft hiss. Martha's heart jumped as she saw them for the first time. 10 children, ranging from age 4 to 12, with skin like polished obsidian that seemed to catch and reflect the light in subtle patterns. They stood close together, holding hands, their simple white transport clothes making their unique skin even more striking. The eldest, a boy of 12, stepped forward. "Are you Ms. Ellis?" he asked in perfect English. His voice was clear but cautious, his eyes scanning her face for any sign of rejection. Martha nodded, fighting back tears. "Yes, but you can call me Martha." Or, she hesitated, then continued, "Or Mom, if you'd like, but only when you're ready." The youngest girl, barely 4, broke free from the group and ran to Martha, wrapping her arms around her legs. The child's skin sparkled like stars against Martha's gray uniform. "You're going to be our new mom?" she asked, looking up with eyes that held flecks of silver. Martha knelt down and hugged her. "Yes, if you'll have me." One by one, the other children came forward. Each had the same remarkable skin, but their faces were all unique, some shy, some curious, some still carrying the sadness of their loss. Martha hugged each one, memorizing their faces, their names becoming a song in her heart. Adam, Ben, Chris, David, Emma, Frank, Grace, Henry, Ian, and little Jenny. Behind them, the transport officer cleared his throat. "Ms. Ellis, there are still forms to complete, and given their unique nature, there will be monthly checkups and reports required." "Of course," Martha said, standing up but keeping her hands on the shoulders of the 2 youngest. "We can do that now." As they walked through the station towards the administration level, the corridors fell silent. Workers, technicians, and residents stopped to stare at the unusual group. The children drew closer to Martha, but held their heads high. "Don't worry," Martha said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "This is your home now, and soon enough, they'll all see what I see. 10 beautiful children who are going to do amazing things." The children smiled at her words, their skin catching the light like 1,000 tiny stars. Martha smiled back, ignoring the doubtful looks and judgmental whispers. She had spent 3 years alone after Tom's death, drowning in work and grief. But now, looking at these 10 precious faces, she felt something she thought she'd lost forever: hope. This was just the beginning of their story. And Martha Ellis, the simple maintenance engineer of Gamma 7, had no idea that her choice to open her heart would one day change the course of human history. The first month in Space Station Gamma 7 passed like a whirlwind for Martha and her new family. Their expanded living quarters, though cramped by most standards, had been transformed into an organized chaos of bunk beds, study areas, and communal spaces. The walls, once bare metal, now displayed the children's artwork, drawings of stars, ships, and their new family. Martha sat at their large dining table, reviewing work schedules on her tablet while helping the younger ones with their breakfast. The older children had already mastered the morning routine, helping their siblings with remarkable efficiency. "Mom," called Adam, the eldest, from his study corner. "I think there's something wrong with the Education Pod's math program. It keeps saying my answers are incorrect, but they're not." Martha walked over to look at his screen. Her eyes widened as she saw the complex equations he was solving. "Adam, this is advanced calculus. How did you get to this level so quickly?" "It's just patterns," he shrugged, his obsidian skin shimmering under the station's lights. "Ben, Chris, and I have been taking turns teaching the younger ones too. Emma's already better at geometry than the pod's program." A notification popped up on Martha's tablet. Another complaint from the education department. It was the third one this week. The teachers were uncomfortable with how quickly the children were advancing, suggesting they must be cheating somehow. Well, a voice came from their doorway. If it isn't the station's newest circus act. It was Roger doing his monthly maintenance inspection. His eyes swept across the room, lingering on the children's unique skin with poorly hidden disgust. Little Jenny, who was helping to clear the breakfast dishes, dropped a cup. Instead of breaking, it bounced, caught by Henry's impossibly quick reflexes. Roger's eyes narrowed at the display. "Your inspection report's already in the system," Martha said firmly, moving to stand between him and the children. "Everything's up to code." "For now," Roger smirked. "But 10 growing kids. The strain on life support, water recycling. It's just a matter of time before something breaks." After he left, Martha found David comforting a crying Jenny. "Why does he hate us, Mom?" the little girl asked, her crystalline tears catching the light like diamonds. "He doesn't hate you, sweetheart," Martha said, gathering Jenny in her arms. "He just doesn't understand you yet. But he will. They all will." That evening, while preparing dinner with Frank and Grace's help, Martha noticed something extraordinary. The children moved around the kitchen in perfect synchronization, anticipating each other's needs without a word. When Grace reached for a spice, Frank already had it ready. When Ian came in to set the table, the others shifted their positions seamlessly to let him through. "How do you do that?" Martha asked, amazed. "Do what?" Grace looked confused. "Move so perfectly together. It's like you're all connected somehow." The children exchanged glances. "We've always been able to sense each other," Ben explained. "Back in the colony, our parents thought it had something to do with our enhanced genes. But since coming here, it's gotten stronger." Martha processed this information carefully. She had known the children were special. Their quick learning, their unique appearance, their perfect coordination. But there was clearly much more to discover. Later that night, after the younger ones were asleep, Martha found Adam, Ben, and Chris huddled over a complex holographic display they had somehow jury-rigged from spare parts. "What's this?" she asked, studying the intricate patterns of light. "We're trying to recreate something from the colony," Adam explained. "Our parents were working on a special project. We don't remember all of it, but sometimes, in our dreams," Martha put her hands on their shoulders, feeling the slight warmth that always radiated from their crystalline skin. "Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. But for now, you need sleep. Tomorrow's another big day." As she walked back to her small room, Martha smiled. Let them whisper. Let them doubt. Her children were extraordinary, and someday, everyone would know it. But for now, they were simply her family, finding their way together in their little corner of space. 3 months into their new life on Space Station Gamma 7, the truth about Martha's children became impossible to hide. It started during a routine maintenance check of the station's quantum core. Martha had brought Adam, Ben, and Chris with her to work, hoping to teach them about her job. The other children were in their advanced learning pods, having long since outgrown the regular station curriculum. As they walked through the humming corridors of the engineering section, their crystalline skin reflecting the pulsing lights of the machinery, Martha noticed how intently the boys studied everything around them. "The quantum core's efficiency has dropped 12%, the chief engineer announced to his team. "We've tried everything in the manual, but it's not the core," Adam suddenly said, his dark eyes fixed on the swirling energy patterns. "It's the containment field. The geometry is wrong." The room fell silent. The chief engineer frowned. "Kid, this is a restricted area. You shouldn't even be." "He's right," Ben added, stepping forward. "Look at the field harmonics. They're out of phase because the containment chamber's shape doesn't match the quantum resonance." Chris pulled out a tablet and quickly sketched a complex diagram. "If you adjust the field emitters to this pattern, it should fix the problem." The engineers stared at the diagram in disbelief. Martha felt her heart race. She had known her children were special, but this was beyond anything she had expected. "Impossible," Roger snapped, having just entered the room. "They're just kids." And there, he gestured vaguely at their skin. The chief engineer studied the diagram more closely. "Wait a minute. These calculations, they're actually making sense. How did you see this?" "We see patterns," Adam explained simply. "In everything. The quantum field has a natural flow, like water. Your containment chamber is trying to force it into the wrong shape." Against Roger's loud protests, the chief engineer decided to try the children's solution. Within an hour, the quantum core's efficiency had improved by 20%, better than its original specifications. Word spread quickly through the station. That same day, Emma and Frank were found helping the hydroponics team redesign their irrigation system. Grace and Henry had corrected a flaw in the station's navigation computers. Even little Jenny had pointed out a pattern in the station's recycling system that had been causing minor malfunctions for years. That evening, Martha found herself called to the station administrator's office. The administrator, a stern woman named Director Wells, sat behind her desk with a thick file displayed on her screen. "Ms. Ellis," she began, "your children have attracted some attention. Their abilities are unprecedented. The Science Council wants them tested." Martha felt a chill run down her spine. "They're not lab specimens. They're children. Children who can see quantum patterns, who can redesign complex systems by instinct, who appear to share some kind of collective intelligence." Director Wells leaned forward. "Do you know what their birth parents were working on at the Proxima colony?" Martha shook her head. "Neither do we. All records were destroyed in the incident. But now," the director gestured to another screen showing the children's recent achievements. "Now we're starting to wonder what exactly was happening at that colony." "They're my children," Martha said firmly. "Not experiments. Not weapons. Children." "Of course." Director Wells smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "But surely you understand our curiosity. The Science Council is prepared to offer you a very comfortable relocation package. Better quarters, advanced education resources, a significant salary increase." Martha stood up. "Thank you, but no. We're happy where we are." As she walked home, Martha's mind raced. She found all 10 children waiting for her, their faces concerned. They had known something was wrong. They always knew. "They want to study us, don't they?" Adam asked quietly. Martha gathered them all into a group hug, feeling the warm, crystalline texture of their skin against her arms. "Nobody is going to study you. Nobody is going to take you away. We're family, and we'll figure this out together." That night, as the children slept, Martha began making plans. Their gifts were extraordinary, but they were still her children. and she would protect them, no matter what the cost. The crisis struck Space Station Gamma 7 without warning. Martha was in the middle of her night shift when all the quantum core indicators suddenly flashed red. The massive engine that powered the station's life support, gravity, and shield systems was failing. Emergency protocols initiated. The station's AI announced calmly, "Core containment breach imminent. Station-wide evacuation recommended." The engineering bay erupted into chaos. Technicians rushed between control panels while warning sirens blared throughout the station. Martha's hands flew across her console, but nothing seemed to work. "The containment field is collapsing," the chief engineer shouted. "We have maybe 30 minutes before total failure. Start moving people to the escape pods." Martha's heart raced. 5,000 people lived on Gamma 7. The escape pods could only hold 3,000 at most. And even worse, a quantum core breach would release radiation that could reach nearby colonies. Her communicator buzzed. It was Adam. "Mom, we can feel it. The core, it's like it's screaming." "Stay in our quarters," Martha ordered. "I'll handle this. But we can help," all 10 voices said in perfect unison through the communicator. "We can see the pattern that's breaking." Roger pushed past Martha to reach another control panel. "The containment field is already at critical. Nothing in the manual can fix this. We need to evacuate now." Martha looked at her screen, then at the panicking crew around her. She made her decision. "Chief," she called out, "I need permission to bring my children to the core." "Have you lost your mind?" Roger exploded. "This is no time for—" "They saw the problem before," Martha interrupted. "They might see it again. What do we have to lose?" The chief engineer wiped sweat from his forehead. 25 minutes to breach. "Do it." Martha ran to her quarters. She found all 10 children already dressed and waiting, their crystalline skin pulsing with an inner light she'd never seen before. "We need to link," Adam explained as they hurried back. "All of us. Like we did in the colony." They reached the engineering bay with 20 minutes remaining. The core's containment chamber was a swirling mass of chaotic energy, its quantum fields visibly distorting. The children moved as one, forming a circle around the chamber's observation window. Their hands linked together, and their skin began to glow brighter. "The pattern is complex," Ben said, his voice overlapping with his siblings in an eerie chorus. "Many layers, breaking in multiple dimensions. Can you fix it?" Martha asked, fighting to stay calm. "Not fix," Emma said. "But we can show them how." Suddenly, the main display screen filled with incredibly complex equations and diagrams. The children spoke in unison, explaining each part as engineers scrambled to implement their solutions. "Adjust harmonic frequency to match the quantum resonance. Redirect power flow through secondary conduits. Reconfigure containment field geometry to natural pattern." With 10 minutes remaining, nothing seemed to be working. The core continued to deteriorate. "One more thing," little Jenny said suddenly, her voice clear above her siblings. "The pattern needs humanity." "What?" Martha asked. "The quantum field responds to life," Chris explained. "To consciousness. We can see the patterns, but we need human intuition to guide them." Martha understood. She stepped into the circle, placing her hands on Adam and Jenny's shoulders. "Tell me what to do." The moment she joined them, she felt it. A strange sensation of patterns and energy flowing through her mind. Through her connection to the children, she could almost see what they saw. The quantum field as a living thing, twisted and wounded. Now, all 11 voices said together, "Push." Martha felt energy flow through her, joining with the children's unique abilities. On the displays, the containment field shifted, warped, and finally stabilized. The warning sirens fell silent. "Core containment restored," the AI announced. "All systems returning to normal." The engineering crew stared in stunned silence at the impossible readings. The quantum core wasn't just stable, it was running at 150% efficiency. Martha hugged her children tightly, feeling their still warm skin and racing hearts. They had done more than save the station. They had proved that their gifts, combined with human connection, could achieve the impossible. As the emergency teams began their cleanup, Director Wells watched from the doorway, her expression unreadable. The children's power was now undeniable. The question was, what would happen next? Life on Space Station Gamma 7 changed dramatically in the weeks following the quantum core crisis. The same corridors where Martha's children once faced whispers and stares now fell silent with respect when they passed. Their crystalline skin, once a source of prejudice, had become a symbol of the station's salvation. Martha noticed the change first in the cafeteria. She was having lunch with Jenny and Emma when the chief engineer approached their table, carrying his tray. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his usual gruff manner replaced with genuine warmth. "My granddaughter has been talking nonstop about Emma since she helped fix the hydroponics lab. Says she wants to study quantum mechanics now." Emma's skin sparkled with pleasure at the compliment. "I could help teach her," she offered. "The patterns are easier to see when you start with plants. They have natural quantum fields." Word spread quickly through the station about the children's willingness to teach. Soon, their quarters became a daily gathering place for curious students and engineers. Adam, Ben, and Chris took turns explaining complex physics concepts to wide-eyed apprentice engineers. Frank and Grace helped the medical staff understand biological patterns they had never noticed before. Even little Jenny had a following of maintenance workers who discovered she could spot failing equipment before any sensors detected problems. "It's remarkable," Dr. Hayes, the station's head physician, told Martha during a routine checkup. "Their ability to perceive quantum patterns extends to everything. Machinery, living tissue, even social interactions. And they're able to explain it in ways we can understand. It's like they're bridges between two different ways of seeing the universe." Not everyone was convinced. Roger still watched the family with suspicious eyes, though he kept his distance now. And Martha occasionally caught glimpses of people in dark suits speaking with Director Wells, their expressions serious as they glanced toward the family's quarters. One evening, while the younger children were teaching a group of students, Adam pulled Martha aside. "Mom, something's changing," he said quietly. "We can feel it. The station's quantum field. It's starting to resonate with us." Martha frowned. "Is that dangerous?" "No." Adam smiled, his dark skin rippling with patterns of light. "It's like the station is learning from us. And we're learning from it. The patterns are growing stronger, clearer, but we need more human minds to help guide it." That's when Martha had an idea. She called a meeting with the station's department heads, including the still reluctant Director Wells. "My children have a gift," she explained. "But it's not just their ability to see patterns. It's their ability to help us see them too. I propose we start a formal education program, not just for engineers or scientists, but for anyone who wants to learn." The program began the following week. The station's recreation hall was converted into a teaching space where the children could work with small groups. They started simple, teaching people to see the patterns in plants, then machines, then energy fields. To everyone's amazement, it worked. Under the children's guidance, regular humans began to perceive the quantum patterns that had always surrounded them. Equipment failures dropped by 60%. The hydroponics labs produced record harvests. Even the station's power consumption decreased as systems naturally aligned with the patterns the children had revealed. "You're changing everything," Martha told her children one night as they watched the stars through their viewport. "Not just how we see the universe, but how we see each other." "No, Mom," Ben corrected gently. "You changed everything first. When you chose to see us as children who needed love, not experiments or aliens or problems. You taught us that differences don't have to divide us. They can make us stronger." Martha hugged him close, feeling the warm hum of his crystalline skin. Outside their window, The station's lights pulsed in perfect harmony with the quantum fields that connected them all. The same people who had laughed at her decision to adopt 10 strange, dark-skinned children now sent their own children to learn from them. But as their influence grew, so did the attention from beyond the station. The dark-suited visitors became more frequent, and Martha knew that bigger changes were coming. Their quiet life on Gamma 7 was about to become something much larger than she had ever imagined. The truth emerged 6 months after the quantum core crisis. Martha was working a routine maintenance shift when Director Wells called an emergency meeting. As Martha entered the conference room, she found not only the station's leadership but also several officials from the Earth Science Council. "Mrs. Ellis," one of the officials began, "we've discovered something about your children's origins." He placed a data cube on the table. This was recovered from a backup system at the Proxima colony. It contains research logs from their biological parents. The holographic display activated, showing a laboratory filled with complex equipment. A scientist with the same crystalline black skin as the children stood before the camera. Project Quantum Bridge, Day 897. The recording began. "Our genetic modifications are stable. Our children are the first success. They can perceive quantum patterns naturally. But they're showing abilities we never anticipated. They don't just see the patterns, they can influence them, connect with them. And most incredibly, they can teach others to do the same." Martha's hands gripped the table. This was one of her children's birth parents. The recording continued. "We believe we've discovered something fundamental about the universe. Consciousness itself has a quantum pattern. By modifying our genes to perceive these patterns, we've created a bridge between normal space and quantum space. Our children are living proof that humans can evolve to directly interact with the quantum layer of reality." Another scientist appeared in the recording. A woman with the same shimmering skin. "But the military wants to use them as weapons. Control quantum fields, they say. Disable enemy ships. We won't let that happen. Our children are meant to be teachers, bridges between what humanity is and what it could become. If you're watching this, protect them. Help them fulfill their true purpose." The recording ended. The room remained silent for several long moments. The destruction of the Proxima colony wasn't an accident. Director Wells said quietly, "Someone wanted this research buried. But they didn't count on you, Martha. By adopting these children, by loving them, you gave them exactly what their parents wanted. A chance to grow and teach naturally." Martha thought about all the changes she'd seen. The station engineers learning to see quantum patterns, the improved systems, the harmony between human intuition and quantum science that her children were teaching. "There's more," another official said. "Your children's influence is spreading. Other stations are reporting quantum field changes similar to what we've seen here. It's like they're creating a network, teaching the very fabric of space to resonate with human consciousness." As if on cue, Adam's voice came through Martha's communicator. "Mom, we remember now. All of it. The lab, our parents, what we were meant to do." Martha wasn't surprised that they knew about the meeting. Their awareness had grown stronger every day. "Are you okay?" she asked. "We're fine," Adam replied, and she could hear the smile in his voice. "Better than fine. We understand now. But we need your help to finish what our parents started." The officials exchanged glances. "The military will come," one mourned, "once they confirm the children's abilities." "Let them come," Martha said firmly. "My children aren't weapons. They're teachers, just like their parents wanted. And they've already taught us the most important lesson, that humanity's next step forward comes not through force, but through understanding." She stood up, her decision made. "My children can help humanity evolve, help us understand the quantum nature of our own consciousness, but they'll do it their way, through teaching, not warfare." "And if the military disagrees?" Director Wells asked. Martha smiled, thinking of the quantum patterns now flowing through the station, connecting all its inhabitants. "They'll learn the same lesson everyone else has. That force is no match for understanding. My children have already changed this station. Soon, they'll change humanity itself. As she walked back to their quarters, Martha felt the familiar hum of quantum energy around her. Her children met her at the door, their skin glowing with complex patterns. "Ready for the next step, Mom?" they asked in unison. Martha hugged them close. "Together," she said, "we'll do it together." The breakthrough came exactly 1 year after Martha adopted her children. The family was gathered in their private research lab, a space granted by the station after their help with the quantum core crisis. All 10 children sat in a circle, their crystalline skin pulsing with synchronized patterns of light, while Martha monitored their vital signs. "We can see it now, Mom," Adam said, his voice mixing with his siblings in that strange harmony they shared. "The space between spaces, the quantum paths that connect everything." The lab's instruments recorded unprecedented quantum field activity. Through the viewport, Martha could see strange ripples in the star field, like waves on a cosmic ocean. "Our birth parents were close," Ben added, "but they were missing something essential, something only you helped us understand." "What was that?" Martha asked, checking the readings. "Love," Emma answered simply. "Human connection." They thought the quantum consciousness was just about perception and control, but it's about harmony, unity, the same kind of bond we share as a family. The children joined hands, their skin now glowing so brightly that Martha had to shield her eyes. On her screens, quantum field measurements went off the charts. Suddenly, Director Wells burst into the lab. "We're detecting massive quantum fluctuations. What's happening?" "Watch," the children said together. A small model spacecraft, one they had built from spare parts, sat in the center of their circle. As Martha and Director Wells watched in amazement, the space around the model seemed to fold. For a brief moment, the ship existed in 2 places at once, then settled back into reality. "Did you just—" Director Wells couldn't finish the sentence. "Create a quantum fold?" Chris smiled. "Yes, but not like the old theory suggested. We didn't force space to bend. We asked it to harmonize with us." Martha understood. Over the past year, she had learned to see patterns like her children did, though not as clearly. "You're not breaking physics," she said. "You're working with it. Like dancing with a partner instead of fighting them." "Exactly." Jenny clapped her small hands. "And because we're connected to the station's quantum field, and to all the people we've taught, we can share the harmony," Frank finished. "Create stable pathways through quantum space that any ship can follow." The implications were staggering. Current space travel relied on brute force, massive engines pushing ships through normal space. But this was something entirely new. Working with the quantum nature of space itself, guided by conscious intention. "It's what our birth parents were working toward," Adam explained. "But they thought it would take generations of genetic engineering to achieve. They didn't realize that human consciousness was already capable of this. It just needed the right bridge." "And what's the bridge?" Director Wells asked. All 10 children pointed at Martha. "Love," they said together. "Acceptance. Understanding. Mom showed us that differences don't divide us. They make us stronger. When we stopped trying to control the quantum field and started working with it, everything changed," Martha finished, remembering how her own acceptance of these strange, beautiful children had transformed not just their lives, but the entire station. The lab door opened again. This time it was Roger, the once skeptical maintenance chief. He had seen the quantum fluctuations and come running. "I guess I was wrong about your kids," he admitted to Martha. "We all were. When can you test this on a real ship?" Director Wells looked at the data readings, then at the children, and finally at Martha. "The Science Council will want to study this. The military too. This changes everything. Space travel, communications, power generation. We'll share it," Martha said firmly. "But my children's way. Through teaching, through understanding. No weapons, no control, just harmony. The children's glow dimmed slightly as they released their quantum connection, but their eyes were bright with excitement. This is just the beginning, Adam said. Humanity is ready to learn a new way of moving through space, and we can show them how. Martha looked at her family. These incredible children who had gone from being objects of ridicule to humanity's teachers. They had proven that the greatest breakthroughs come not from force or fear, but from love and acceptance. The stars beyond the viewport seemed to twinkle in response, as if the very fabric of space was ready to dance with them. The day of the first official quantum fold test arrived. Space Station Gamma 7's observation deck was packed with officials from Earth, reporters from every major news network, and hundreds of station residents. At the center of attention stood Martha and her 10 children, their crystalline skin gleaming under the bright lights. Remember when they used to stare at us for different reasons? Ben whispered to his siblings, causing a ripple of quiet laughter among them. The test ship, a small research vessel named Harmony, floated a safe distance from the station. Its crew had spent months learning from Martha's children, understanding the quantum patterns that would guide their journey. The same people who laughed at us for being different are now here to learn from us. Adam said, squeezing Martha's hand. You were right all along, Mom. Roger pushed through the crowd, looking uncomfortable in his formal uniform. Mrs. Ellis, he said, clearing his throat, I owe you and your children an apology. I was wrong. We all were. Martha smiled. Water under the bridge. Roger, would you like to watch the test from up front? The children say the quantum patterns are particularly beautiful from this angle. The test began. The children formed their familiar circle, but this time hundreds of others joined them. Station engineers, scientists, and residents they had taught over the past year. Martha stood in the center, acting as the anchor point for their shared consciousness. Remember, Emma called out to everyone. Don't force it. Feel the harmony, like we practiced. The quantum field rippled visibly around the test chip. People who had learned to see the patterns gasped at the beautiful display of interconnected energy flows. Even those without quantum sight could feel something. A gentle humming in their minds, a sense of connection to something vast and wonderful. Now, all 10 children said together. The ship didn't disappear in a flash or tear a hole in space. Instead, reality seemed to dance around it, like ripples in a pond merging together. One moment the ship was there, the next it had reappeared at its target destination. The moon. A journey that normally took 3 days accomplished in seconds. The observation deck erupted in cheers. Reporters rushed to broadcast the historic moment. Officials hurried to contact their superiors. But Martha noticed something even more remarkable. People throughout the crowd were holding hands, their faces glowing with the same sense of connection her children had been teaching. Director Wells approached them, followed by the Earth Science Council representatives. The military representatives want to talk about adapting this technology, she said. They're waiting in my office. No need, Martha replied firmly. This gift isn't meant to be controlled or weaponized. Look around you. She gestured to the crowd, where former skeptics were chatting excitedly with their neighbors, comparing their experiences of the quantum patterns. Station residents who had once avoided her children were now asking them questions, eager to learn more. The technology isn't the real breakthrough, Martha explained. It's the understanding that we're all connected. That working together, in harmony, is more powerful than trying to control or dominate. The Science Council's lead researcher nodded slowly. Your children haven't just revolutionized space travel, she said. They've shown us a new way of looking at the universe and at each other. Later that evening, as the celebration continued throughout the station, Martha found her children in their favorite spot by the viewport. They'd watched as more ships arrived from Earth, eager to learn the new quantum fold technology. They used to laugh at us, Jenny said, her small hand pressed against the glass. Called us strange and wrong because we looked different. And now? Martha asked, though she already knew the answer. Now they understand what you knew all along. Adam smiled. That being different isn't a weakness. It's a gift, a bridge to new possibilities. Through the viewport, they could see the quantum fields shimmering around the station, visible now to many, thanks to their teachings. The same people who had mocked Martha for adopting 10 strange, black-skinned children now lined up to learn from them. You know what the best part is? Chris asked, grinning. We're just getting started. 5 years after the first quantum fold test, Space Station Gamma 7 had transformed into humanity's premier center for quantum harmony studies. The simple maintenance station where Martha had once faced ridicule for adopting 10 strange children was now known as the Cradle, the birthplace of a new era in human evolution. Martha stood in the newly built Quantum Academy's main hall, watching as hundreds of students from across the solar system practiced seeing and working with quantum patterns. Her children, now teenagers, moved among them as teachers, their crystalline skin glowing with mature confidence. Hard to believe it all started with a maintenance engineer adopting some unwanted kids, Roger said, walking up beside her. He had become one of their strongest supporters, even learning to see quantum patterns himself. You changed everything, Martha. We changed everything, she corrected him. All of us, learning to see past our fears and differences. The Academy walls displayed live feeds from across the solar system. Quantum fold ships moved smoothly between planets, guided by crews trained in harmony techniques. Space stations and colonies pulsed with visible quantum fields, their systems running in perfect resonance with human consciousness. Mom, Jenny, now 9, called out. The first group of hybrid children are arriving. Martha turned to see a group of families entering the academy. Among them were children with the same crystalline black skin as her own, the first generation of volunteers who had chosen to accept the quantum genetics modifications. But unlike the original colony's approach, these children were born into loving families who understood and celebrated their gifts. Adam, now 17, joined them. Remember when people used to stare at us in fear? He asked, watching as regular and quantum-enhanced children played together, sharing their perspectives on the universe. Now they understand that diversity makes us stronger. The Academy's quantum field hummed with the combined consciousness of hundreds of minds working in harmony. Through the massive windows, Martha could see ships arriving from other star systems, the first wave of alien civilizations coming to learn about humanity's quantum awakening. Director Ellis, a young aide, approached. The Interstellar Council is ready for your address. Martha smiled at the title. She had come a long way from being just a maintenance engineer. Tell them I'll be there shortly. She found Ben and Chris in the research wing, teaching a group of scientists how to enhance their quantum perception. Emma and Frank were in the medical center, showing doctors how to use quantum patterns to heal injuries. Grace and Henry worked in the space dock, helping crews prepare their ships for quantum fold journeys. Ian and David managed the Academy's growing network of quantum field generators. 10 years ago, Martha addressed the assembled Interstellar Council. An hour later, these children were seen as strange and unwanted. People laughed at my decision to adopt them, but they taught us that what makes us different can also make us extraordinary. The council chamber's quantum field rippled with agreement. Representatives from a dozen alien species watched as Martha's children demonstrated their abilities, showing how quantum consciousness could bridge not just space, but the gaps between different forms of life. That evening, Martha gathered with her family in their old quarters, now preserved as a historic site. The simple home where their journey began was filled with memories and love. You know what I realized, Jenny said, her quantum patterns dancing with happiness. The people who laughed at us gave us a gift. They taught us that changing minds is better than holding grudges. And look at the result, Adam added, gesturing to the viewport where ships of all shapes and sizes moved through quantum space. Humanity has evolved, not through force or fear, but through understanding and acceptance. Martha hugged her children, feeling the familiar warmth of their crystalline skin. And it all started with love, she said. Just a mother's love for her children. Outside, The stars seemed to twinkle in agreement, their light playing through quantum fields that now connected all of humanity in a great dance of consciousness and harmony. The universe, they had discovered, was not a cold, empty place to be conquered, but a living pattern of energy waiting to be understood. And it had all begun because one woman chose to look past appearances and open her heart to 10 remarkable children who just needed a chance to shine.